A First Amendment auditor is seen filming a police station from a public sidewalk. The auditor is soon approached by two officers who ask why he's filming the station. The conversation goes something like this. Can we help you with anything?
No, thank you.
Can we ask why you're filming the station?
I'm just doing a little story.
What's the story about?
I don't want to say because it hasn't been published yet.
Well, you have a name?
You can call me Good Citizen.
You got some ID on you?
Do I have to ID?
Yes, it's suspicious activity.
Suspicious activity a felony or a misdemeanor?
Neither, but it's still suspicious. Duh. Are you going to identify yourself?
Is that a lawful order?
Yes, it's a lawful order.
No, thank you.
You're under arrest. In comes the paddy wagon. They toss the activist auditor in there, and the first one he sees is Charlie Manson. He looks around some more, and there's Leatherface, but you know what the bad news for all three is? The driver's from Jeepers Creepers. Ha 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 ha! Guys, I don't want us to take this video too seriously, or maybe you already know that, but it's New Year's Eve and I'm laid up with knee replacement surgery. I'm about 10 or 11 days post-op. Not on any painkillers. I ran out of the Oxy a few days ago, but I don't have an addictive personality, so I'm back to Tylenol. I don't miss the Oxy. It really doesn't even do anything for me. I've been up since about midnight. I'm just one of those that once I wake up, I stay up. And I've been thinking about putting this video together just to go over the First Amendment auditing and auditors. And no, this isn't going to be about beating up on anybody. It's just the general concept of auditing and what we see that's kind of the common denominator in the way that they approach their auditing, the things that are said when they're having an interaction with law enforcement. So no, it's not going to be anything like that. I've talked about some of the aspects of First Amendment auditing that I like, but I'm also very, I guess you could say, hypercritical of it because I'm a former officer and I know the mistakes they make. Because when they say something or do something, I can't help but look at it through the lens of being a former officer. They're talking to law enforcement. Let me guide you through this and let you know what the cops are thinking at the time the auditor says something. And maybe there's a way to trim the fat and make their auditing work more effective. And at the same time, maybe not get themselves into trouble. Where that shouldn't be the goal of the auditing community, is to see how many times you can get arrested. You want to avoid that. I mean, it's supposed to be, I thought, and I think it should be educational. But yeah, New Year's Eve, now I sitting here recuperating from the knee surgery. I'm not going to get all bent out of shape about anything. So let's go back through this and I'll make some comments. And my thoughts aren't the gold standard. They're just my thoughts and my comments and ideas that I think can be helpful. But please feel free, leave your own thoughts down in the comment section. All right, enough chattering on my part. I don't think we're going to run into that freak from Jeepers Creepers again, but I really like that movie, the first one, because, you know, the original is always the best, and well, it's just the gal there in that movie, that first one was, she was all right, I guess. The auditor is soon approached by two officers who ask why he's filming the station. The conversation goes something like this. Can we help you with anything?
No, thank you.
Can we ask why you're filming the station?
I'm just doing a little story.
Lame. 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 Come on. Okay. The police are going to come out because they don't like what the auditor is doing. And they're naturally inquisitive, suspicious, paranoid, and they think in black and white. So when they go out to talk to this person, they're expecting a conversation, good, bad, or indifferent. But remember, they don't like what the auditor's doing, so now they're going to try and criminalize it. That's what you see all the time. But this, I'm just doing a little story, is so lame and unconvincing and only does one thing. It feeds into their suspicion. You know, you can communicate if you choose to, in a way that actually makes a difference. Instead of saying, I'm not just doing a little story, look him in the eye and say, I'm holding you accountable. You've got 1,000,000 cameras pointed at us. I've got one pointed back at you. There you go, black and white. And you're actually telling the truth, but you're not giving anything away. You haven't given up your Fourth Amendment rights, and you're still sticking strong to the First Amendment. And if they falsely arrest you, or they falsely arrest the auditor, and it all goes through the court system, and they're asked on the stand, you approached them, yeah, okay. They told you that they were holding you accountable. Yeah, holding you accountable. You know what that means? Whether or not you know the scope of your authority, and guess what, officer? You failed. What's it feel like knowing my client knew the law better than you? Bam! Oh yeah!
I'm just doing a little story.
What's the story about?
I don't want to say because it hasn't been published yet.
That's almost, if not equally bad with the, I'm just working on a little story. Oh, I don't want to say anything. It hasn't been published yet. That doesn't make any sense. It's just ridiculous. If you're taking a picture or filming a police station in broad daylight and the cops don't like what you're doing and they come out and they're looking for a reason to make an arrest, first you say that you're working on a story. Now it's, oh, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to say anything. It's not published yet. To the police who see everything in black and white and this ambiguity in what you're doing, I mean, other people can disagree with me. Maybe you shouldn't be saying anything, but there's got to be a better strategy than that. And really, you've said it all when you've looked him in the eye and said, I'm holding you accountable. But to go down this road of ambiguity, it's like you've got something to hide. And I guarantee you the officers have moved from frustrated into the angry mode. Oh, but there's more. There's something the officers are focusing on, and they're starting to drill down, and that is starting every sentence with, It could be a speech impediment. But what it means to the police is you're being deceptive. Because saying, is subconsciously, according to what the police have been trained, it's a mechanism to give yourself time to come up with something to say, to come up with an answer. Remember, that's how they'll take it. That's how I took it. And the other thing they key in on is when people start a sentence with, well, to tell you the truth or to be honest. Because that is an indicator of deception. What it tells the cops is almost everything that you've said up to that point has been deceitful, and now you're finally saying something that has some kernel of truth to it. This isn't a game. There's no part of this that's a game. We know that there are a lot of crazy cops out there, and because of qualified immunity and a culture of violence that basically permeates throughout an agency and, internal investigations and police unions, this is not a game. You got to know what you're doing. That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. Try and get people into the minds of the police.
Well, you have a name? You can call me Good Citizen.
Oh, you can call me Good Citizen. I mean, where's the originality? I'm not even going to come up with any terms to suggest or to recommend. I'm just saying that Good Citizen is so worn out. Please come up with something else.
You got some ID on you? Do I have to ID?
Two things that are usually in play about this time of the interaction. It's where the activists, when they start crossing over into give me ID territory, this is where the average activist, is most likely to come up with this is not a stop an ID state. And almost every one of you knows how I feel about that. And because I don't want to get myself worked up, because I promised, I'm going to move on to the other part of this. When you ask a police officer a question, that means that you're seeking clarification. And when they answer it and they think it's a correct answer, and you basically just disregard what they just told you in response to the question, well, that doesn't bode well either. I was probably asked out of nervousness, or it possibly could be just a filler.
Yes, it's suspicious activity. Is suspicious activity a felony or a misdemeanor?
The reason this got 4 stamps lame is because it basically never works. I've only seen it work with a couple of auditors, James Freeman and Bay Area. Now, there's going to be others, but they're few and far between. It doesn't work because what the police will do is you'll see them stop and think for a few seconds, but what do they come out with? Well, no, but it's still suspicious. That whole thing about is that be the felony or the misdemeanor, it doesn't move the needle off of suspicion or suspicious activity. The better response is, officer, you should know better. That's not the legal test. Mere suspicion cannot be used as a reason to detain someone, officer. You should know this. Just like you can't use hunches, gut feelings, or to go on fishing expeditions. Why do I have to explain it to you? If you go ahead and make a false arrest, I plead not guilty, and I'm going to get you up on the stand. In just one or two questions, I'm going to make you wish you'd never gone into law enforcement. Because everybody in that courtroom and everybody throughout the whole law enforcement network in this area is going to know that you made a fool of yourself because the person you falsely arrested knew more about the law than you did. So choose wisely, officer.
Neither, but it's still suspicious. Duh. Are you going to identify yourself? Is that a lawful order? Yes, it's a lawful order. No, thank you. You're under arrest. In comes the paddy wagon. They toss the activist auditor in there.
But he's not alone. There's Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy. He's all dressed up in his clown costume. And not to fear, behind the wheel is Ted Bundy. Well, I'll tell you what, activist auditor, you're in good company. Good luck, because you're going to need it. Happy New Year.